Everybody, we are back. It is Taped on Live. It's another episode this week. Hitting you guys back. We enjoyed all the feedback from the last episode. The last couple of episodes did pretty well. Almost hit 7K on the first free agency episode. So definitely appreciate all the listeners coming and giving us feedback. So we're pushing. And since you're here, first thing you do, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Subscribe to Taped Online. You get all the best Raider stuff that you like to hear, right? And then also hit the like button for this. If you don't like it, hit the dislike button. We like all the engagements, everything. Leave your feedback. Leave the feedback in the comments. What you guys think of this episode? And make sure you follow me and my co-host BD Williams at BD Williams 18. Right? Go ahead and follow him on Twitter there. Make sure that's the Twitter handle at BD Williams 18. And go ahead and follow me on Twitter as well at the Mark John NFL. Right. So make sure you guys follow us there because we do breakdowns and stuff and little tidbits, little thoughts on everything on Twitter as well. So, today we're going to do a little something interesting. We're going to do something a little different. You know what I mean? There's going to be some breakdowns in it. But, this week we're going to do a little mock draft, which, everybody loves. Who doesn't like a mock draft? Who doesn't like to argue about some fantasy drafting? What is draft season without arguing over who's going to go number 3, right? The 49ers just jumped up to number 3 and now. Is it Mac Jones? Is it Trey Lance? Who is it? What I'm saying? Who are the Raiders going to take at 17? Are they going to trade back? Are they going to trade up? You see all types of things. I mean, we're not going to do any trades today, but
no trades
trades today, guys. Sorry.
It's I'm not really big on mock drafts, but at the end of the day, you got to give the people what they want.
Yeah.
And rest assured, we're gonna put some good video clips in here as overlay. We're gonna talk about these guys, as best as we can. We're giving the people what they want. We're gonna do some mock draft today, because really the only other Raiders signing that has happened since our last pod or our last episode is Willie Snead, right? I mean, I did a little live stream of Darius Philon.
Yeah.
And it's really nothing to write home about. I wouldn't bother putting a whole cut up, going through the process of making a cut up for a guy. Like I just watched one game and he's on the ground the entire game. So I wouldn't go through all that for a guy like that, and he's probably going to be suspended for like the first couple of games of the season anyways, because I guess he had some kind of like off-field shenanigans that he was involved in, and he's been out of football for a couple of years. So I'd be surprised if he even made the active roster. So we're not going to go through that. Willie Snead, that's legit. Give Marcus some time to put that together. So this week, we're just having some fun. Do a little mock draft, right? And so explain. We're doing up to pick 121, okay?
Yes.
Do the Raiders have multiple fourth-round picks, or that's just their only one?
That's the only fourth-round picks. They have multiple third-round picks.
Yeah, 2 third-round picks and a fourth-round pick. So we're doing 5 picks in total. We're not going to get through all of it, all 7 rounds. We probably wouldn't have time for that anyways. But we're going to do the first 5 picks. Like Marcus said, no trades, okay? Now, real quick, before we get into this, Marcus.
Okay.
Tell me, it could be any number of guys, but who will not be there at 17?
Who will not be there at 17?
Because we're not doing a mock draft and being like, okay, yeah, we're picking Penei Sewell at 17, Raiders need a tackle, get the best. We got to make it realistic. So just let people know who's not going to be there. Like, it doesn't have to be 17. You don't have to name 16 guys, but just give me like a couple guys who are not going to be there.
So like the Slaters of the world, it's not going to be there. We're talking about tackles. Of course, Sewell's not going to be there. It's questionable if Darius Saw's going to be there. I went through a couple mock draft simulators and he was there, but I can't see that. I kind of see the tackles kind of going after these quarterbacks go. I think Sewell go early, and then probably you get this Horn and Surtain will go, and then maybe some of the Tuipulotu will probably go a little higher than with his good pro day. You see some guys like that, but Vera Tucker had a great pro day, so he's gonna go. And then it's going to be interesting who's going to be there at 17, but guys like that, like we aren't going to see no Slaters. Michael Parsons after running 4.39, he ain't even sniffing 17.
Yeah, I was gonna say Michael Parsons, no way.
He's not touching it.
No way.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you thought J.C. Horn is gonna sniff that, I think J.C. Horn has a chance to go like 6 or 7, like something crazy like that. The pro day is separating a lot of these guys. It's also opening a lot up for 17. I think, the Raiders are going to have a lot of options at 17 of what they'll be able to do. And it's going to be interesting of who they decide they like themselves. Because, I mean, if they like this, they decide they like some of these super athletic BYU guys, that run these outside zones, and they get a fixation with the 6'8", Christian shit over there with this 4.89 or whatever he ran today, and this crazy vertical leap and his bench press, and they just want to build a project. It's I'm like, how mad am I going to be at that? So
actually, Christensen is good. Christensen is good. He's further along than I would say Colton Miller was when he came out.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
He's got good technique.
Yeah, so it's like he, that guy had a big day, and they were there today. Mike Mack was there. Right. He was at BYU chilling, and that guard's not too bad. I was watching that guard right before the show started. That guard's not too bad either. He ain't bad. Yeah, Tristan Hogue. He ain't bad either.
He's good.
He ain't bad either. Yeah, that's why Zach Wilson doing all those fancy things with that line. We'll see what he looks like on the Jets, but those are the type of guys that aren't going to be that 17, in my opinion. It's the blue chip guys showed they're a blue chip, especially at the pro days. Like, we're going to get like the second part of it. I think, all the safeties are going to be there. I believe all of them, right? They're all going to be there at 17. I think, but there's going to be some good tackles there at 17 for sure. And I think there might be a good edge rusher if they decide they go that way. I just hope they don't reach and do like a defensive tackle. The reaching I'm scared of is the defensive tackle. I ain't gonna lie. That's the reaching I'm scared of. They reach for Barmore or anybody like that. I mean, I'm a little nervous about reaching for a defensive tackle or something like that. Especially
when the Raiders literally have like 10 defensive tackles under contract right now. Like, you can't to me, that just shows you they don't like this defensive tackle class, that they're loading up like this crazy heavy on defensive tackle and free agency. Bradley's looking at it and he's like, I'm not sold on these guys. Let's get some veterans in. So I think that hopefully that's what that means. They're not going to reach on a defensive tackle, but at this point, nothing they do would surprise me. So okay, so we set the table here. Realistic. First 4 rounds, no trades.
Yes.
Do you want to go?
Trades.
Do you want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
I can go first.
All right.
How do you feel? I mean, how you feel? You want to go first, BD?
No, go ahead, man. Go ahead.
All right, let's do it. All right. So let's go ahead and get this started. 17. Who is it going to be? Round 1, 17. I'm going Tevan Jenkins, Oklahoma State, right tackle. That's probably predictable if you've been watching the show. I think he's an animal. He's just a mean guy. He just loves to run people over. I just listened to an interview with him with Brandon Thorne. He was just making some jokes about DBs. It was kind of funny about him running them over. And that's the type of guy that the Raiders need. And, on another note is he is an outside zone guy. I mean, that's where he comes from. He comes from the outside zone system, runs it really well. He's great in space, able to move, right? He's very athletic. We haven't had their pro day yet to get his a lot of his measurables for sure. But, you see the athleticism and you see that he has a lot to work with in the system that the Raiders really shifting to is a lot of their movement around the offensive line is to 10% of the time. I think we saw from Cyril that, that you showed me, BD, that, and they're like 5th in the league in that. So they're trying to get away from that and get to what they really want to do. They want to get to outside zone. That's where I think Tevan Jenkins comes in. I do think in pass pro a little bit. He's not as super refined as he is in the run game. And, there's the game against Ronnie Perkins that if you watch that game, you're going to be like, oh, how good is Tevan Jenkins, right? But he was giving up his chest a little bit too much, and he does that. But sometimes he's so strong that a lot of times that, these young guys, they're so strong that they can anchor when they don't have the best hand placement against some of these guys they face in college. So he can anchor still, right? But, Ronnie Perkins, you ain't anchoring. He's going to roll you over because he's a second-round pick. He's that type of player. But, Joseph Asai, he's not anchoring and running over Tevan Jenkins. Tevan Jenkins running over him, right? So I think that's one of my – I think that's a pretty safe pick, in my opinion. I think he's going to be a good player. If he's not going to be a superstar, right tackle, I think he's going to be a really, really good player. So I really like that pick, 17.
All right, so we got right tackle first off the board.
Right tackle first.
Round 2, pick 48.
Round 2, pick 48. I'm going back-to-back linemen here, guys. I'm going back-to-back linemen. I'm going Landon Dickerson from Alabama. Inside O-line. He could play center. He could play guard. He could do whatever you want. You want him to play tackle. He could probably play tackle too. He could play a little tackle. He could play everything. And, he played center, and he's a mean guy. And another one, this is what I'm saying, bring some attitude, and he can run the outside zone scheme as well because they did it at Alabama. And he is great in space. And to be honest, I think he is the best overall offensive lineman in this draft. I mean, because he can do everything,
right?
And from inside, like he is dynamic. Like he is mean. There's a couple of plays play against Ole Miss, man, where he just I don't even think it's part of the play. I don't know how he didn't get a penalty, but he just turns around, just decks this like 84. I don't know why. I don't know what 84 said to him, but he just turned around and just decked him, and had nothing to do with the play. But he's that type of dude. I mean, he got great hands. He's got great technique, man. He's great in pass pro, great anchor. He's kind of as good as you can get, man,
right,
as an inside offensive lineman. And I really feel like that with some of these players that get pushed back a little bit with some of these quarterbacks going off, and some of these pro days that we're seeing, and some of these defensive players are solidifying themselves as first round picks. I think we're going to see somebody like Landon Dickerson fall, who was an inside offensive lineman.
Right.
And the Raiders can take advantage of that, and they can build us offensive line. I mean, then you got Cole Miller, you got Landon Dickerson, you got Tevan Jenkins, and I know you guys are thinking you're crazy, Marcus, where's the defense? But they got some holes in the offensive line. Let's keep it real. And I think they want to get there. And I think inside offensive line is a little bit easier to go young at than it is to go with tackle, right? I believe that. I think that you can find some guys that can come in and play interior a little bit quicker, right? And he doesn't have to come play center. And I know he played center, and I think he can come in and play guard like right away. I think he could play guard and be perfectly fine. And just move over a little bit. He can compete with Denzel Good for that guard position. And if, hopefully he wins that and they're starting. And I think that's a good offensive line. He's just as smart. I mean, he could even, if Andre James does end up starting, I mean, he's played center, he can help him out a little bit, help him with some checks and stuff and see some things that he might not see. So I think he's such a key pick. He's such a smart player. He's saying he doesn't miss stunts. There's a lot of things that he does really, really well. And, to get him in the second round would be tremendous, in my opinion.
Right there with you, man. I shouldn't give it away, but whatever. Like, we're not a Hollywood production here. My second round pick is Landon Dickerson too. So
yeah,
I'll go over him a bit. I'll gloss over him because you did a great job breaking him down. All right, so take us to round 3. What you got?
All right, let's go to round 3. All right, so round 3, we're going Richie Grant from UCF, right? So
my
we're going
boy.
Richie Grant.
Love it.
From UCF, round 3. Now, I know some of you thinking like, oh my God, how is this Richie Grant going second round, whatever? But he's a safety, first of all. Let's talk about that. He's a safety. Okay. They're being valued right now. Anthony Harris got $5 million. And we know that Anthony Harris is not worth $5 million. Let's keep it real. He's a pretty good player, right? So I think safeties are a little undervalued. So I think that getting a player like Richie Grant is very possible at 79. And I think he's going to come in and be able to things, right? I don't think that he absolutely has to start single high. He at the Senior Bowl, he went and showed that he could play a lot of coverage, and he can maybe play in the nickel, maybe play a little bit of a Desmond King role and play a little, master of everything, right? Play some single high, be the single high safety when they need him to be it, or come down and play nickel and maybe move Jeff Heath up there and be versatile with him when they need him, right? He can be a little bit more of a chess piece, I think, than just, pigeonholing him as just go play single high, which I think he can do, right? But I think they can move him around, use him, find different ways, and then he could be a good player. And I know tackling is a little bit of a thing with him, but I still think he's a good, smart player. And sometimes you get into the third round and you're getting more of a value picks, and I think Richie Grant will be a great value pick at that point.
Yeah. Awesome. I love Richie Grant. So I'm all over that. We'll see. We'll see if he's around at 79 though. We'll see.
Yeah. Have they had their pro day? They haven't had their pro day. Yeah.
I don't know. Actually, I don't know.
Yeah, the numbers.
All right. So,
all right.
The very next pick, 79 to 80.
Yeah. Now I'm getting crazy. I mean, we talked about the need of defensive lineman. I went ahead and I took a defensive lineman. I took Marlon Tuipulotu from USC, right? Marlon Tuipulotu from USC had a good pro day as well, right? And I think that he could come in and he can play the Jonathan Hankins role. You bring some depth behind Jonathan Hankins, because I don't know how much depth they have behind Jonathan Hankins. Let's keep it real. Like, if Jonathan Hankins goes down, what is their plan? I feel like they have like 8 3 techniques right now that they're just kind of lining up. I don't know how many guys that could play the one and move around a little bit more and play a little bit more inside in that run game. I don't. So that's why I think that he could be a good pick there. I think he can come in and he could play some of those positions. He's about 308, 310, right? And he's got some good weight on him. He's got some very good power. He's got some pass rush upside that I like. But he's a very good run defender, great hands, a lot of power. He's very good at shedding, right? He just has to work on it, becoming a better pass rusher, becoming, refining his technique as a pass rusher. But as a run defender, he definitely can come in. He could work the middle and not have to play like straight up 3-10 technique. He can move around, play 1, play 2, move all around, where he needs to be, right? And they can move him around and he can do really well inside. And I think he can develop into a good 3 technique eventually because of the upside that he brings as a pass rusher.
Yeah. What I like about Tuipulotu too, as well, is like I think that he could play 1 technique as well.
Yeah.
Like you're saying. So, having a guy who can do both. Whereas, a lot of these guys like Maurice Hurst can't play 1 technique.
Yeah.
Like they got a bunch of guys who are like just 1 techniques. David Irving, not in base personnel, I guess maybe like in sub packages when they know it's going to be a pass rush. Yeah, you could put guys anywhere, I guess. But like if the run's coming at you, a 6'6", 6'7" guy should not be at the 1 technique. He doesn't have leverage, like against a 6'3" center, So like they got a bunch of guys who are like basically exclusively 3 techniques or further out away from the center. They need some guys who can actually like play in the interior. Other than Jonathan Hankins under contract, it's kind of questionable who they got right now that could do that. So that's why I like Marlon Tuipulotu. Okay, yeah. All right, so close this off for us. Pick 121, 4th round. What you got?
I went Rashad Weaver from Pittsburgh. So I really like Rashad Weaver. He has really good tape, and I think he's somebody that could play uh kind of like, not, I'm not gonna say he can be Joey Bosa, but I think, where he can fit in and he can play that 5 tech, and even go outside, move a little bit to like a 7 tech, or even be a 9 a little bit on third downs, wherever they need him to be to rush the passer. And he's a very technique guy. Like he's got what you got. You want spin moves, he got spin moves. You know what I'm saying? He got inside moves. He's got cross chops. He is basically all technique, right? And he shows some better athleticism than we thought. When we were looking, BD tried to call me out and told me that, I thought he didn't have any bend, but you know what I'm saying? But
so thought you said he wasn't athletic. What happened?
It just wasn't there in the tape. I went back a little bit, but like I said, like he is a perfect value pick though in the 4th round. I believe he is somebody that can come in and really show that pass rush skill, and maybe can develop into somebody who can really rush the passer. That's what the Raiders need. So I think Rashad Weaver can really come in and do well. And like I said, he's already good against the run. I mean, he's very sound, and it was more about like how athletic he was. I mean, that's kind of my thing. So based on his pro day, I mean, he might not even be there in the 4th round.
Right.
But
yeah, I always like
value there.
I always like Weaver because I saw him against BYU, and I thought that he was really impactful against BYU. Some people, say, a lot of people said similar things about, wondering how well he could actually like corner, like where was the speed rush. But, I do think in the NFL that the speed rush and like the twitchy, like bendy guys are a little overrated in the draft community compared to like what the NFL actually likes to see in a defensive end. And I think that, which is a reason why Cleveland Ferrell was, a top 5 pick for the Raiders, and guys like Brian Burns weren't, right? Because like, a lot of NFL defense coordinators, they value, guys who are not, because if you're just like a twitchy speed rush guy, you are a 3rd down exclusive player. You're not a 1st and 2nd down player at that point, right? Especially like in an even front or in a 4-3 defense. So yeah, I like Rashad Weaver. I think that he's like really sound, really like you were saying, a lot of technique. That'd be a great pick, great value pick. All right, so before I switch over to me, can you just talk to like what was just give like say a couple things about what your philosophy or what your strategy was with this mock draft?
So my strategy basically is what the front end of this draft on defense is not very good. Let's keep it real. This is an offensive draft. This isn't really a defensive draft. I know I've seen all these crazy pro day numbers, but based on tape and everything, I mean, don't fall in love with Jason Owar from Penn State because those numbers or whatever that he's pushing up. You got to check the tape, and you got to figure out why he doesn't have any sacks and things like that. But at the top of this defensive draft, it's just, it really is not there. I mean, you could take a safety at 17, like because what I'm a little bit scared of is that like they might take Richie Grant at 17 or something like that. They might just take Richie Grant at 17. I know you wouldn't be bad, but like it's a little rich. So that's why I went that way. I'm like, the best players are on offense. They have some holes on offense. They need a tackle. They need a guard. So I went with the best tackle on the board, who I believe is going to be the best tackle on the board, is Tevan Jenkins, right? And then I went with the best inside offensive lineman, and that was Landon Dickerson. And from there, I knew. I mean, I didn't know, but I figured that there would be some good defensive value later on in this draft. I think you're going to find some guys deeper in this draft. I mean, like Andre Sisco, he's hurt, right? You're going to find somebody like him. He's not going to be ready. He might not be ready for training camp, or he will be, but he's going to be in a limited fashion, right? He because of that, he might fall, right? He might fall to the 3rd or 4th, and there's some good value there that you can get. Like, I mean, there's still like Tuipulotu, or there's the Carlos Bashams. We haven't heard much buzz about Basham. I mean, he might fall a little bit. There's a lot of things that the Raiders can do deeper defense later on in the draft, especially adding that third round pick, that back to back. I think this year, instead of going back to back wide receiver and project running back, I didn't get Kenyon Drake, so I'm gonna try to make this guy Kenyon Drake. It should go back to back defense. That's the back to back. That has to be a back to back defense this year. Like, I don't care. Like,
80, yeah, 79 and 80, right?
It has to be like.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. Mine's, but okay. All right.
Yeah. All right.
But I do like the strategy of just going offense round 1 and round 2 and then just seeing what the value is on defense. I, however, went a different way. Okay. And look, full disclosure, Raider Nation, Marcus and I, we looked at each other's mock drafts before we did this, so we're not picking the same exact, we had to make it interesting for the show. All right.
Yeah.
So I saw what Marcus was doing and I was like, okay, let's make this interesting for the show. And I'm not just doing this just to be different. I do think that this would be a great pick. First round, starting off BD's mock draft, four-round mock draft. 17th overall, Raiders select Trevon Moehrig. Okay. If you watch the show, if you follow me on Twitter, I love Trevon Moehrig. Okay. Going back to 2019, when I was watching Jeff Gladney, the corner from TCU, Trevon Moehrig was making splash plays, like huge hits, just great coverage plays all over the field, flying acrobatic interceptions. I'm like, okay, who is this guy? I had to look him up. I told everyone I knew, watch this guy, Trevon Moehrig. He's a sophomore. He's going to be a junior next year. Watch him. And now he's basically, at this point, I think the consensus, number one safety available in the draft. He's a plug and play guy because if you watch him, what I really love about him, that is a very underrated, misunderstood part of safety play, is he communicates. You see him out there pointing things out, talking to his teammates. He's a leader out there, and you need that in a safety. You need a guy who is going to call the shots and let people know, especially that free safety and Gus Bradley single high scheme where they're going to be in single high a lot. You need a guy out there who has, from the shoulders up, is capable of talking to guys and getting guys on the same page. And then when you look at, just his working coverage, he plays in a split field quarter scheme at TCU. So the projection to a single high safety isn't clean. I'll admit it. It's not clean. And I think that there is a chance that the Raiders say, you know what, we want maybe something that's a cleaner projection, and that's fine. But me, I'm calling the shots here. I want a guy like Trevon Moehrig because he can do more than just have range on the back end. He can also play incredible man coverage. And he's so quick in his transitions that I just see him being able to basically play in any scheme in the NFL, even if he doesn't have a ton of single high snaps in college. Right. And then also the other part of Trevon Moehrig, the only really knock on Trevon Moehrig that prevents him from being like Minkah Fitzpatrick, Derwin James level of a safety is he's not the greatest tackler. So if you put him deep in the middle, right, he doesn't have to come and play run support and stuff like that. Let Jonathan Abram do that. And, Trevon Moehrig, he's better as an open field tackler than he is as a run support player, right? So keep him out of that situation until he, improves at it. So I think it would make sense for him to play single high in the post for the Raiders, immediate impact starter, and would shore up that secondary. So, yeah, we already talked about this. Round 2, 48 overall. I'm going Landon Dickerson just like Marcus. I echo everything he said. I think, Marcus, you have definitely watched more of Landon Dickerson than I have. But if you look at, they valued Denzel Good because Denzel Good could play multiple positions. Well, shoot, Landon Dickerson has literally played every single offensive line position for Alabama, okay? He's a 4-year starter. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah. He's
okay.
Legit, bro.
He's legit, right? So now Like I'm just drafting OL Landon Dickerson, not tackle, not guard. Okay, I'm just saying OL Landon Dickerson. Bring him to camp. Figure out where you start him. He's gonna start somewhere day one. I don't care where it is. If it's tackle, if it's guard, if it's center, I don't care. He can start somewhere day one. And it's not like, oh, how could he play? Like usually inside offensive linemen, interior offensive linemen, they don't play tackle.
Yeah.
But Landon Dickerson is 6'6". He's not like a 6'3" guard. You know what I'm saying? Like he's 6'6". So he's got the size, maybe not. We'll see if he could do it at the NFL level, play tackle at the NFL level. But shoot, if you can't play tackle, you got like potentially very high probability in a Pro Bowl guard for like the next 10 years, like you're saying.
Yeah. I'm betting at least one All Pro. I'll just say it. Maybe not two, maybe one. I'm going one. If Landon Dickerson, bro, like that is some damn good tape. Like I would say with tackle with him though, it's all about like his build is inside lineman. Like I don't like I'm sure he can do it. I'm not. And if you're listening, I believe you can play tackle. Don't take me wrong, but
Landon is listening. He's big fan.
He's a big fan. But like, if he had to play tackle, I'm sure he could do it. It'd be like Tucker. You know what I mean? Like, can they play tackle? Of course, right? But do you want them to play tackle? No. That's probably more how I feel about him.
Fair enough. Yeah, and you watch him more than me. But all I'm saying is you got a versatile guy who can do anything. The entire right side of your offensive line, you have options now with Denzel Good and Landon Dickerson there.
Yeah.
So that's why I went with him at 48 overall. Next, Payton Turner is who I'm picking with pick 79. Now, our guys, okay, at the draft guide, okay, expand the box score. All right, I was blinking on it for a second. Our guys at expand the box score, they love Payton Turner. Okay, Payton Turner, I will admit, maybe a bit of a project. Okay. All right, but he's got certain things that his mama gave him that you just can't teach. Okay.
Yeah.
Like being a 6'6" defensive end with a 7-foot wingspan. He weighs like 275 pounds. Okay. This guy is like chiseled from clay or chiseled from marble. Okay. Like this guy is body beautiful at the defensive end position. I think that when you look at the way that Gus Bradley has used bigger, taller defensive linemen to play 5 technique, to rush from 3 technique, okay? The Jerry Tillerys and the Malik Jacksons, of the world, I think, he doesn't have to start day one, Payton Turner. He can develop into a guy that comes in rotation, but I think the talent at 79, you're probably not going to get a more talented guy from, afterwards in the draft in terms of just physical gifts. He doesn't have to play a lot. If he only played like 40, 50 snaps entire 2021, I wouldn't care. Like you got a guy who could develop into a beast at the position and probably multiple positions on the defensive line. So that's why I went with Payton Turner at 79. Now, do you have any, you want to comment on Payton Turner?
No, he just whooped Brady Christensen's butt. Who
yes,
he did.
Yeah. Yes, he did. I watched that game as well. I watched that game. Rashad Weaver and Payton Turner both gave Brady Christensen some problems. Brady Christensen being the BYU offensive tackle.
It's because he's a hugger. That's like he likes to hug instead of punch. That's why. Yeah. But anyways, keep going. All right, next pick.
So you want to talk about a guy who likes to punch? Okay. 80th overall. I'm going Quinn Meinerz. Okay. Hold on. You talked about attitude on the defensive line. Okay.
Yeah.
This guy is a psycho. Okay. He played D3 and he goes to the Senior Bowl. You'd think, okay, you're playing D3. You're playing against smaller, less athletic players in D3. You're probably going to be like, there's going to be a period of time that it takes for you to get comfortable. No, Quinn Meinerz is out there wearing like belly shirt cut off, just shoving people around day one of the Senior Bowl. Like he left, and some people were like, "This might be the best offensive lineman here at the Senior Bowl."
Yeah,
okay,
no.
like they were talking about him forever. It's going to be hard for me to find some clips of him like actually playing and to overlay over this, video. But this guy has a lot of attitude. He's built like a bowling ball. Raiders have had some flux on the interior of their offensive line, but I think you got Incognito, you got Denzel Good, you got Quinn Meinerz, you got Landon Dickerson. Now there's some serious attitude. I don't care who starts, but whoever starts will be a killer on this offensive line. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm going Quinn Meinerz. I saw him there at 80, and I was like, you know what? Let's keep on building the trenches. Let's get a guy, who maybe he can play center, maybe he can play guard, maybe he's just a backup, but he'll be potent when he gets off the bench. And now this one is a guy that I have not talked about, and Marcus, you might not be super familiar with him, but I'm going with pick 121. I'm going safety nickel.
Okay.
Joshua Bledsoe from Missouri.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Now, I like Josh Bledsoe a lot, and when I'm watching Josh Bledsoe, I if you've listened to maybe a few pods ago when we talked about the safeties who were coming out in the draft, I talked about how Javon Holland played nickel almost exclusively at Oregon. Mm-hmm. So my biggest question was, how well is he going to transition to playing actual safety in the NFL? Because I don't think that he has the man coverage skills or the quickness to actually play nickel in the NFL. Josh Bledsoe, similar position. He's playing the star, right? The star position in that Missouri defense where they're basically the nickel player. But unlike Javon Holland, Josh Bledsoe can actually play man coverage. He's very quick. He's not like the same against the run as Javon Holland, obviously. Okay. But I think that he actually is a player who played over the slot in college, who I think could have a future playing over the slot in the NFL. I like his speed. I like his instincts. I like his transitions. I think he's a clean player. He might not have like the most wow physical profile. I think that the other Missouri safety, Tyreek Gillespie, ended up testing better than him. But if you watch the tape, you're going to see Josh Bledsoe flying around the field at probably a slightly faster clip because his footwork is so clean, and because I think that he has better instincts than Tyreek Gillespie does. So how do I put this? A modest fan of Tyreek Gillespie. I'm not saying that he would come in and start at the nickel, but he would give the Raiders options. He could play safety if they needed him to. They could play nickel if he needed him to. But all of these picks, 79, 80, and 121 for me, are not day one starters. I think that they are more developmental players.
Okay.
It's 48 and 17. Trevon Moehrig and Landon Dickerson. Those were like, to me, got to get an offensive lineman who's an impact player, and got to get a safety who's an impact player in the draft. And those are the two places where I think the Raiders, they need an impact player now. They're not doing it in free agency. And I think that that's part of the design, is because they want to do that in the draft. So that was my strategy. Get those two impact players. And then the rest of these guys, I'm just looking at the talent and I'm looking at the needs on the team, and we're just trying to marry those. So we'll see.
Okay. Yeah, man. I like it. I like just been saying late. I mean, I think that's when we got to get some defensive players. And I mean, you still took two defensive players. We're okay. You didn't take all three like I suggest, but you took two. So we're good. We're good there. Bledsoe, I'm not very familiar with. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not very familiar. I'm more familiar with Gillespie than I am with Bledsoe. So that's an interesting pick. Definitely somebody that I definitely want to look into now that since you talked about it. These
okay, yeah,
I can't put any other
for sure,
man. So yeah, he is. He's one of my favorites. He's pretty serious, man, and like he can get down, and I just loved his tape. So taking Dickerson, and just let everybody know we use the Draft Network mock draft simulator. We did do that. This is not just like off the cusp, just making up that I took Richie Grant in the 3rd round or he took whatever. You know what I mean? Right. This is we did use a mock draft simulator just so everybody knows. But we try to use.
We had to settle on the mock draft, the Draft Network mock draft simulator because some of these other ones, it was like I was drafting like stars in the 3rd round. It was like, okay, this is completely unrealistic. Okay.
Yeah. Like, PFF hates running back so much, man. You can get Javonte Williams in the 4th.
Yeah. Right. Right. And linebackers are a dying breed. So Micah Parsons would be available in like the 2nd round or something like that. Right. Yeah, exactly. So we went through a couple mock draft simulators. I'm sure they'll get, the tweaks ironed out when we get closer to the draft, but we used the Draft Network for this. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and close it down. This would be a short show for us this week. What I want you guys to do, whenever we get this episode up, Marcus is gonna promote his draft. I'm gonna promote my draft in the comment section and on Twitter and on Reddit, wherever you view this. Let us know who wins. Okay. Who wins this mock draft? Whose mock draft do you like the best? And then it will just be pride is on the line, I guess.
Okay. Okay. Pride. All right. Yeah. Vote Marcus. I'm gonna tell you already right now. Vote Marcus.
May the best man win. But that's it, Raider Nation. I hope you guys enjoyed the little mock draft show. We're gonna come back at you with more scheme related stuff. Willie Sneak breakdown coming next week sometime, so stay tuned for that. As always, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you turn on post notifications so you can see when we do submit another episode. Follow my guy Marcus Johnson at the Mark John NFL on Twitter. Follow myself, BD Williams 18 on Twitter. As always, guys, stay cool.